All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that deep, sinking feeling in your stomach? You know the one, when you realize your keys, your wallet, maybe even your luggage is just gone? Well, what if I told you a tiny little device you probably already know just got an update that could make that feeling ancient history? Yeah, we're talking about the new AirTag.
And look, that's not just me saying that. This is a quote based on real data coming out of the airline industry. That is a huge, huge claim for what, on the surface, looks like a pretty minor product refresh. So the big question is, how in the world did they pull this off?
And that's the crazy part, isn't it? If you put the old AirTag right next to the new one, you literally can't tell them apart. They look exactly the same. But inside, oh, that's a whole different story. A story that might just change the way we think about our belongings forever.
So let's get right into it. Part 1. Looks the same. Isn't. The real magic, the revolution here, it's not on the outside. It's all happening underneath that little polished white and steel exterior. Okay, so this is actually pretty brilliant on Apple's part. They kept the outside exactly the same. Why? So all those keychains, all those holders you already bought for the first one, they still work perfectly. But inside, it's a completely different beast. They totally gutted it and put in the brand new second-generation U2 chip. And that chip, well, that's the game changer. So what even is this Ultra Wideband technology that the YouTube chip powers? Well, here's the best way to think about it. Bluetooth is kind of like standing in a dark room and yelling Marco. You can guess how far away someone is by how loud their polo is, but it's just a guess. Ultra Wideband is like sonar. It sends out a tiny radio pulse and measures the exact time it takes to bounce back, down to the nanosecond. It's not a guess, it's a precise pinpoint measurement. And boom, here's the proof of what that new U2 chip can do. The range for precision finding has just exploded. We're talking from about 50 feet to now nearly 200 feet. You know, that's the difference between finding your keys somewhere in the living room versus standing on your front porch and knowing your wallet is somewhere upstairs. The whole search area is just massively bigger. All right, but now for the main event. The real reason this little gadget is making such huge waves. Let's talk about the killer app. The end of lost luggage. You gotta understand, this isn't just Apple releasing new hardware. This is a massive, massive partnership. They've gone out and brought over 50 global airlines on board. And yeah, we're talking about the big ones. United, Delta, British Airways, they're all in, integrating AirTag location data right into their back-end systems. So picture this. You're at baggage claim and your bag is a no-show. But wait, you pull out your phone and you can see it. It's sitting on the tarmac a few hundred yards away. Now, instead of starting a frustrating argument, you just tap a button in your Find My app. It creates a secure, temporary link that you hand over to the airline agent. They click it, and boom, your bag's live location is now in their system. That whole confrontation just became a collaboration. And the result? Get this. In the beta tests, airlines using this system saw a staggering 90% reduction in what they call unrecoverable luggage. You know, the bags that are just gone forever. Think about that. Your bag might still take the scenic route, but the chances of it completely vanishing into thin air, they're now almost zero. Okay, so the travel story is obviously huge. But what about the everyday? You know, the classic, it's gotta be here somewhere problem. Let's talk about the upgrades that make finding stuff in your own house way, way less of a headache. They made two really smart quality of life improvements. First off, the speaker. It's actually loud now, about 50% louder, in fact. The old one was, let's be honest, kind of pathetic. This new one is redesigned to be louder and sharper so you can actually hear it. And second, this is super cool. If you have a newer Apple Watch, your wrist now plays hot or cold with you, vibrating faster and faster as you get closer to your item. You don't even have to stare at your phone anymore. But it's not all perfect. We've got to talk about the elephant in the room. To make some of these features work, Apple made a very specific and, for some people, a pretty tough trade-off. It's a choice between personal safety and getting your stolen stuff back. So, here's the dilemma. On one hand, they made the new speaker tamper-proof. You can't just pry it open and cut the wires anymore. This is a fantastic move for anti-stalking and personal safety. A huge plus. But here's the flip side. Let's say a thief steals your bike with an AirTag on it. That same loud, impossible-to-silence speaker is now a giant blinking sign for the thief, screaming, "Hey, the tracker is right here. Come find me and throw me away." And this quote really sums up Apple's entire philosophy here. They've made it crystal clear.
They are prioritizing preventing the misuse of AirTags for crime over helping you recover items after a crime has happened. It's a tough pill to swallow if it's your bike that gets stolen for sure, but that's the ethical line in the sand they've decided to draw.
So, when you put all this together, where does it leave us? Let's just zoom out for our final thought here and ask a bigger question. Is losing something about to become a choice?
Because really, this isn't just about one little product. The much bigger story is the Find My network itself. We're talking about billions of iPhones, iPads, and Macs all around the world, constantly creating this invisible mesh network that can find things. We are literally building a search bar for the physical world. And that brings us to a final, pretty wild idea to chew on. As this kind of technology gets cheaper and becomes totally ubiquitous, the whole concept of losing something begins to change. It starts to feel less like a moment of bad luck and more like a simple user error. The responsibility shifts because pretty soon, nothing will be able to just vanish anymore.